Hi, everybody. Welcome back again. This is the second part of our two-parter presentation, and I'm very pleased to see everybody returning back again and ready to finish up our project here. We'll be allowing some other people to come in because I know there's a couple people there, and I think we may have one or two that mentioned about something about maybe not being able to join us. I know Haley was going to try to have trouble. She's out in Seattle, so she's trying to get on the call. But welcome back. We are going to be getting ready to finish up our project here, and I am going to officially turn it over to Michelle, and we'll go from there. Thanks again, Michelle, for joining us from Texas.
All right, Bonjour. First off, I want to thank you so much for having me and introduce myself in my Ojibwe language. Kiweden Gnu Quain Indigenous Makwa Nindodem, Lac du Flambeau Nindonjiba. My name is Michelle Reed, and my Ojibwe name is Golden Eagle Woman from the North. And yeah, I'm so happy to be here. My reservation is in northern Wisconsin, but I live in Upper Michigan, and I have traveled down here to Texas to do some dancing. So right when we get done finishing our medallion, I will be going and doing some dancing with some good friends of mine. So yeah, I'm very excited. I feel so happy to be able to be here with you guys working on this project, and then of course being able to dance after too. So yeah, it's a great day, and yeah, I hope those of you who had a chance to watch the recording of the live class were able to all get to the point that we were at, which was, putting down the rows of beads and then sewing down your rhinestones. So that's where we ended our last class. And I'd love to pick up from there and add a backing piece to this, as well as doing some edge beading and putting on our replica elk tooth and a leather strap, which will help you wear this around your neck. So I'll show you our finished piece that we're going to be making in case you haven't seen that. So this is the Purdue centerpiece. They're all different, so you may not have the same centerpiece, but we all did two rows of beads around, put on those rhinestones to add a little sparkle. And this is that edge bead we'll be doing. And this is the backing. And we talked about the backing last week that I used faux leather. This one's kind of a velvety tan material, a lot easier to sew through than leather. So I wanted to make sure and do something that would be manageable for this short time period we have. So those of you who are watching, you might notice my name comes up as Felica, F-E-L-I-C-A. My name is Michelle, so I know that I'm sorry for the confusion. I'll have to figure out how to change that on my Zoom. Okay, so hopefully you have a pair of scissors.
Can I ask you a question? Because I finished that last line of rhinos, but I didn't dare to cut what was left. I didn't know where to cut the last pieces, on which side or how.
Are you talking about the rhinestone pieces that you're cutting?
Yeah.
Okay, so that is a very good question. When you sew your rhinestones down, we talked about not cutting it till you get all the way to the end.
Yes.
And this is one of the most difficult decisions to make, because if you'll notice, it's probably crowded in there if you want to squeeze that last one in there, or if you cut it short, there'll be a little space. So what I did is I actually did use that extra one, and I crowded them in there and sewed that last one down. So beads you never want to crowd, but rhinestones you can crowd, because as you notice, they're sewed together with threads. So when you push them together, the threads will buckle, and you can kind of cram them together without them sticking up. So yeah, go ahead and make sure
and
you
I can just cut off the ones that are remaining.
Yes, so just cut through both of those threads in between the stones.
All right.
Those two threads that you've been sewing over. Oh yeah, definitely. Good. You got really far. So yeah, it's a good feeling when you get to this point. So we're almost there. We're halfway, of course. So yeah, so once you all get to this point, and remember, if you're not here yet, we can go back and go over some things that we did last week. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my scissors out, and I'm going to actually be cutting this circle out now. So, you know, when you think of what the end product is, you can see the rhinestones, and then you can see there's about a 1/4 inch outside the rhinestones. In order to achieve that, you'll want to cut it. I don't have my ruler with me, but leave about 1/8 of an inch of the white material around it. It doesn't have to be perfect, but do your best to cut it smoothly around, leaving about 1/8 of an inch. So I'm just going around that circle. And I told you guys last time I do everything clockwise normally, but this time I'm going counterclockwise. So, you know, normally when I bead, I go clockwise, but I guess when I cut, I go counterclockwise. So do whatever feels more comfortable to get a nice smooth line there, just going around the circle, using those rhinestones as a guide for your cut. Okay, so I just cut it out. I left about 1/8 of an inch there all the way around. And take your time. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you know, you want to make it as smooth as you can. Circles are hard to cut anyway, but we're going to be covering that with beads. So it doesn't, like I said, have to be perfect. The beads will cover it up. And we're also, when we bead it, we're going to follow the line of the rhinestone, which will help make it a nice smooth edging. So yeah, we'll go ahead and cut that out. And once you do, we'll be working with the glue stick. You might have wondered why I put that glue stick in there. You only need it for one little thing. And, you know, I use glue sticks and, you know, heat and bond, anything, you know, any of those gluing tools that I can to replace pinning things together or trying to hold them while I'm working. So I like glue for this just because when you glue the backing on before you sew it on, it keeps it from shifting and stretching and you know, moving around, creating a messy look. So yeah, I just glue it down, but then I sew it down too. So the glue is just to hold it for you. It has nothing to do with the quality of the piece being held together. And I know when we think of gluing stuff together, you know, we think, oh, that's kind of cheap, but yeah, it would be cheap if we just left it glued together. So don't think we're just going to glue it. Just a little tool we can use to get us to that next step. So has everybody gotten their piece cut out, or should I give you a little more time? I definitely know we're all working at our own pace and level, and we don't want to rush. But I want to, you know, show you each step as we move along.
And the thread should be coming from the back or from the top, or it doesn't matter, you're cutting it.
Oh, yeah, you're just going to be knotting it and cutting it off. So either way is fine. Wherever it ends at is good. So I suppose you guys are getting close to finals and finishing up the semester. So I definitely appreciate you taking the time to take an additional class like this. But hopefully it helps relieve stress and, you know, break up the work. I know you know, it can get a little stressful when you're trying to achieve all these things. So beading can really be therapeutic and you know, just give you a chance to get away from the everyday. I love beading, I love sewing, and you know, I'm really thankful that it's what I get to do all the time. But yeah, I know how much it helps people you know, kind of have that opportunity to be creative and have that outlet. So yeah, if you feel any stress, I always find by shaking my hands out a little bit, just kind of, you know, getting that stress out so we don't break our needles, although we have extra needles, so it's not a big deal, but that always helps me to get ready to bead. So yeah, once you get your piece cut out, we're going to go ahead and just take this glue stick, open it up, and rub the glue all over the back of your piece. Another nice thing about this, you know, when you're first starting out beading, sometimes you may get little loops on the back, and you know, you might not pull it quite tight enough. The glue does help kind of you know, stick all that together. It gives you a little extra insurance on those stitches. You know, as you practice beading, you will find that your stitches get, you know, more uniform, and you won't have those loops and things happen. But glue is a great insurance policy on that too, just to give you that a little extra something. So I'm just taking off the cap, and you can see it's purple. Some of you may have a clear glue. I like either, but the purple is nice because it goes on purple and then it turns clear after. It just shows you where you already glued. So I think they invented that for kids, which it also comes in handy in art. So yeah, I'm just rubbing the glue all over the back of my piece. All right, so this is what it looks like. This is the back. You see all that glue. Now, when I glue it down, I have to make sure I glue it to the back side or the wrong side of my fabric, okay? So you don't want to glue it to the fuzzy side that looks like leather. You want to glue it to the other side. So the fuzzy side is what you want sticking out. So that's what'll be against your skin when you're wearing your necklace. So yeah, make sure that side is out. Don't glue that to the piece. So then I just set my medallion down on my piece of material. Your guys have smaller pieces of material than mine. I just brought this bigger piece. So you set it down on your material, glue it down, and then you'll cut it out following that same line that you made earlier when you cut out your piece. So one reason I teach this part, and then I want to tell you a little more about it, is that I have met people who will bead and they will cut a circle out of their leather material first, and then they'll glue it to their piece. That is one way to do it, but it is a time waster, and you could accidentally cut it too small. So, I mean, you could trace this on there, then cut it out. But if you just put glue on it and glue it right to it, you'll know that it's going to be the perfect size. So yeah, put the glue on, glue it down to your material, then cut the material out. And if you're doing multiple pieces, you can glue them all down at once. Like say you did a bunch of these, glue them all down at once, and then cut them all out instead of cutting a whole bunch of extra pieces. So it's a real time saver. There, so I just cut off the extra, and there's the back. So I'll set this aside. And now I'm going to get my beads out. So I'm going to be edging mine in black. One thing to be sure of is whatever color you choose, make sure you have enough of that color. I put the most of your beads are going to be black. So, you know, that would probably be the one that you're like, okay, I know I have enough black, so I'm going to edge it in black. But if you feel you have a lot of another color, or if you want to do a colorful edging, some people will actually do different colors, like, you know, say right here, do a little bit of red and gold, or, you know, continue that design through to the edging. And then, but the easiest thing is just to do all one color, of course. So this is called a wrapped edge. It's wrapping around the edge of your piece. The edging on these butterflies that I'm wearing is a different stitch. So, you know, there are a lot of different edge stitches, but I wanted to teach you guys this wrap stitch. It can be used for a lot of different things once you learn it. So. All right, so this one's already started, but I want to start this one with you guys. So just like we did last last time, we want to take our thread and we want to take 1, 2 arm lengths of thread. Once again, we want to cut it, and then we want to thread that needle, double that thread over, and then tie it on the end. Okay, just like we did before, making that knot at the end of the thread, tying the two together, and then trimming off the extra. How's everybody doing so far?
Good. I was trying to recycle some of my thread, but it's not to arm's length.
Well, if it's a little shorter, that's okay.
It's half of it.
About a half of it.
Yeah, so I'll just take another one.
Yeah, it will be nice not to have to knot it in the middle of, you know, what you're doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, good call, good call. So once you get that tied, I wonder if how many people we have on, or if is it just you and I? I feel like it is.
I see other people on the call.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'm here too. I'm just focused. I'm trying to get this cut. My scissors are not very great, so.
Okay, yeah, that can make it difficult. The good thing is, you know, you'll be covering that edge up with your beads, so that is something to, you know, keep in mind. But yeah, take your time. I definitely don't want to rush you, because that
The
is
fabric is just ending up a little jagged because it's not super sharp. So,
okay.
but yeah, it'll be good.
Yeah, do what you can. All right, awesome.
And then
So-
we feed four beads, 4 black beads, or should I
Well,
wait?
yeah, let's go ahead and we're gonna put, I'm gonna see how many I used on this one. Because we're gonna kind of have to test how many beads we use. But first, I want to show you a trick about hiding your knot. And this is something that is good to know, because you don't want a whole bunch of knots showing, of course, because this is the finishing step. So what we're gonna do is, looking at your piece, go to the bottom center, right in the middle of that piece. Peel back your backing just a little bit, and you're going to bring your needle up and through right next to your rhinestones. So remember how we have to keep trying until we find that spot where the rhinestones are. Once you get it coming up right next to the rhinestones, pull it through, and you can see that I'm hiding that knot in, you know, I'm pulling that back so I can hide the knot in there. Now I'm going to stick it back down. Okay. I know it was glued, so I'm going to glue it back down. Now my knot is hidden inside, in between these two pieces, sandwiched between the two pieces. So that's just a little trick. When you can hide knots, we will try to do that. It's not always possible, so you do see some, but when you first start out, is a good chance to hide that knot. So now you should have your thread coming out the top of your piece, right in that bottom center, right next to the rhinestone. Okay, so what we're going to be doing now is we're going to be actually putting on, I'm going to start with 5 beads. I'm going to try 5. Now, depending on how wide you cut your edge, you know, that's going to tell you how many beads to put on. So if you want to try 5, I'm going to do that. I'm going to pick up 5. Good lighting is important for beading, and unfortunately in hotel rooms it's not all good lighting, but I might have to move my lamp a little closer. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so I put 5 beads on. I'm going to slide them down, and now what I'm just going to do is wrap it around and see if it's enough beads where it'll cover the edge, and then it'll come back and be in the same position in the back as it is in the front, basically. So I'm going to use 6. I'm going to add one more. So when, yeah, because when you go through your material again, you're going to go through and try to come up again right next to that rhinestone, just like you did last time. So I'm going to come up right next to that last set of beads, half a bead's width away, so that they're not, this next row doesn't crowd it, but so it's close enough together where it's not like a big gap. Okay, so I'm gonna come up and through and pull it.
And you do it clockwise now, right?
I am going clockwise, yes. So when I come up, I want to come up to the right of that last of where I started. So there's that first loop, and I think that's a good amount of beads because you can see it wraps around.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so now where I came up is half a bead's width from the last row of beads. Okay, so when I make the next loop, I don't want it to be too close to this one where it's pushing it away or crowding it, but I don't want it to be too far apart because I do not want a space. I really want it to look like a black, full black edging. You don't want to see a bunch of white gaps in here because it'll take away from the look of the piece. This black should be a nice solid line if you can. That's your goal. And as you practice, you'll get better and better at it. So I'm going to put on another 6 beads, but I'm going to move this lamp a little closer. Oh. All right, so picked up 6. Now I'm going to come up again from the back to the front, right next to those rhinestones. Once again, half a bead's width away and pull it through. Let's see how that lays. All right, so yeah, that's pretty good. They're fairly close together. So yeah, just look at it. Each one, you know, just look at it, make sure it's nice and tight. Make sure your thread is coming out half a bead's width like we talked about. Make sure it's right next to the rhinestones so that it covers all the white material. So you'll just keep repeating that. And again, one thing about beading, it's just repetition. So the more you do it, the better you'll get at it, the easier it'll be to find that spot where you want to come up through your material. And each time, pull it nice and tight.
I think I cut my like fabric a little too wide. I don't know, or I can show you. I think the circle is like a little too big.
Yeah, or you know, if you want, you could just use more beads and make it bigger. I've done these where I make it wider like you did, and then I'll put maybe 10 beads on and try that. So yeah, that'll give you a bigger medallion.
And I was like, I don't know if this is gonna be working okay, but yeah, I think I'll just do more beads. Okay.
Nice. Yeah, that'll be beautiful. And it's all these little variations that'll make it your own unique piece. So yeah, that's awesome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So yeah, if you start to notice they're getting a little too crowded where they're pushing, you know, in on each other, just widen out that stitch. It's you know, just constantly adjusting your placement and stuff, which is what'll make a difference with how it goes, how it looks once it's done. But I think we talked about this last week, or last time we met, was that you know, when you're working on a piece like this or any artwork, it's hard to look at that bigger picture because you're so focused on all these little details, because there are so many. And we talked about how it's easy to get wrapped up in the little things instead of seeing the beauty of the whole piece. So yeah, remember to take a step back, hold your piece away from you, and look at it as a whole to, you know, to really see what it's going to look like. And, you know, that way, if you do make some mistakes, you can see the beauty of the piece without picking out those mistakes, hopefully. And we talk about a spirit bead, and I don't know if we talked about this last time, but a spirit bead is something, it doesn't have to be a bead even necessarily, but something in your work that is shows imperfection, that you know, is said to show the creator that you understand that you're not perfect. And, you know, our art can be beautiful and it can be, you know, very special, but we, you know, we're human and we're not perfect. And that's the same with our artwork. So there are different beliefs on that. Some people put a mistake bead in their work, but I personally don't, because I know that my work is not to the level where it is anywhere near perfect. So so
It's
you know,
naturally imperfect.
right. So when you get to the point where you think you're good enough, that your work is perfect, and you have to make an intentional mistake, you know, so it's an interesting teaching, and it's a good way of, you know, gauging whether you do think that you know, that you have done a perfect job. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting concept. So I myself have not gotten to that point. My mom, who I consider to be a master beader, you know, she has artwork in museums, and she's just like such an amazing beader. And I'm like, that's so perfect, Mom. It's so, you know, and I'm just like amazed at her work. And she's always like, it's not perfect, you know, and she will go back and take out her work and try really hard to, you know, not have those mistakes. But she will leave that spirit bead in there if she makes a single mistake, and, you know, she's not feeling like, you know, she needs to take it out. But, you know, she will take out certain mistakes that take away from the look of the piece, because even though we're not perfect, we can try to do our best to do a good job. So those are some good lessons that I feel I have learned. And I know I'm nowhere near perfection, but I do try my best. So every time you make make one of those loops, just make sure you know, pull it snug, make another one, pull it again. That way you'll, you know, make this nice and tight. This will get most of your wear and tear, this edge, because, you know, it's going to be rubbing on your shirt or whatever you're wearing more, you know, things like that. So even if you, well, if you hang it up or something, obviously it'll it'll be very protected. But yeah, it's really nice to know that you can control things like the quality of your work and how long this piece can last. I mean, it truly could be one of those pieces that, you know, 100 years from now, it's in a museum and they're looking at it like, wow, this is, you know, their traditional the traditional work of Purdue University. You know, I mean, do you ever think sometimes of, you know, artifacts and photos and things that are, that were staged and done. You know, somebody created those pieces of clothing, and, you know, the style that they were made in, as well as even the beadwork and things like that. So, you know, things have evolved so much that even eventually things like this could be, you know, looked back at as a an era of the beadwork evolution. Well, I wanted to show you guys another cab or centerpiece. Look at this one.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And look at the difference in size from the piece we're making now.
Mm.
So my friend Teresa, who makes the custom centerpieces, she also does, you know, all different varieties like this. So yeah, I just wanted to bring something bigger to show you. So once you get, you know, this down, if you want to make something bigger, you can just get something like that and use the exact same process. You know, one thing I have found with people who, you know, are learning to bead is that they have a fear of expanding or doing something different for some reason. So I like the idea of being able to just get something, a bigger circle, and do exactly the same thing. So it shows you that you can do bigger pieces, and, you know, you've already got all the tools to do that. So yeah, once you do this, a lot of options. I mean, beading around mirrors, around gems, around buttons. Buttons are a really cool thing to do. You just poke a hole in the middle of your material and stick it through, you know, secure it down, and then you can bead around those. So yeah, sky's the limit. There's so much you can do. And I know we talked a lot about that last week. Next thing you know, you guys will be beading some moccasins. Same thing, you know, just a different shape. Oh yes, a future presentation. Well, I have to show you, I did bring a pair of moccasins that I just refreshed and fixed up. One thing I like to talk about, you know, for those of you who are getting into beading, is when you bead, like we talked about, doing these, you know, pieces and trying to make them last, make them good quality, you know, tight stitches, practicing that, so that when you get to things like moccasins, stuff like that, same stitch, just a bigger piece. You can do it with a mind of, you know, of how will I create this piece so it will last for a long time. And the pair of moccasins that I worked on recently was actually a pair that I made a couple years ago for a young man. He was about I want to say he was 7 years old. So he's still pretty small, but I made them with room to grow because, you know, kids, they grow like crazy and moccasins take a lot of work. So you don't want to be remaking them in a year. So I made them and he was able to dance in them for a couple years. You know, he had to wear insoles and big socks at first just to, you know, hold him on his little feet. But after a couple of years, he grew out of them to the point where he was busting out of them. So I got them back from his dad. And then his parents measured his feet and, you know, sent me drawings and stuff. And from that, I extended those moccasins and added a border to them and made them big enough to fit my feet. You know, I couldn't make him the size he is now because then he'd just grow out of them. So I took the shape of his foot now and then just added to that. So kind of almost like intuitive beading, you know. So that was a fun project. I've done that all my kids' lives, you know, the beadwork that I made for them for their naming ceremonies and their first time dancing was the same beadwork they wore for, my daughter wore hers for 12 years and my son wore his for about 8 years. So, you know, just constantly expanding and adding to those pieces. So yeah, once you get that quality down, it can really last and take wear and tear. So I'll take this last stitch and then I'll show you. And the little boy who these are for, he's actually a hoop dancer and a fancy dancer. So those of you who are familiar with hoop dancing is really hard on the moccasins because you're stepping down on one side of the hoop and to make it jump up, and then you're bringing it up by, you know, like almost kicking it with your feet to bring it up your body. So there are a lot of instances where these beads get a lot of wear and tear. So yeah, I was really proud of myself. I will say that he didn't have any bead loss on these after wearing them so many times. His mom and dad did replace the soles once because his soles had worn through, and that is very common to have to replace soles. But bead loss is, can be really hard on moccasins because once they start coming off, you know, and then you're still dancing, they can keep coming off. So when he was smaller, all that he had was this turquoise part, the turquoise with the floral. But then I took them apart, I washed them, I then added this red border, and then I added this leather bias tape to it. So yeah, that's, you know, there's ways to make these pieces last for, you know, and grow with our children that, you know, so we're not making something that's disposable or that, you know, isn't able to be upcycled, I guess. So some really important things about what I believe in for our clothing and things like that, especially for our kids who grow so much.
Michelle, maybe you can talk about how you were able to recycle or pass down clothing to the next family, for generations, and maybe for you, did you have any items that were passed down from maybe your grandparents or your family members?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, I love to talk about that. I find that beading, you know, and working like this is a great time to just talk about things like this. You know, unfortunately with, you know, things going on with, you know, my mom's the one who taught me how to bead and hand sew. And when she was 5 or 6, her and her siblings were taken and put into an orphanage. And they, you know, they were living with their grandma. They were speaking Ojibwe and doing, you know, our family was known for hide tanning and, you know, doing things like that. And when they were taken away, they were brought to a bigger town where they had a big orphanage and put in there. They didn't know how old my mom was, so they just guessed and gave her a birthday and, you know, things like that. You know, just like her birthday were lost. But of course also the language and the arts. So they were in there for quite a while, and then they were put into foster homes. And when they got out of that orphanage and got out of the foster homes, graduated, they all started going to Northern Michigan University, or living nearby to that university. And they started a Native newspaper there at the university. This was in 1971, 72. So before I was born. And, you know, they had the opportunity to meet a couple of people who were traveling across the US, and Floyd Westerman, who, you know, has passed on now, but someone who is very active with, you know, the American Indian movement, things like that. He ended up coming to the university for some reason, and you know, my mom met him and got to know him, and you know, they learned from another man who brought the stomp dance to their university. So, you know, back then the things were just starting to happen as far as like culture here. And I know you guys are in Canada, so, you know, it's a little bit different as far as the, you know, the times changing and people bringing the culture back. So, you know, mom and her siblings, they went up to DC, and I think it was 72 or 73, and they were a part of that, where they took over the BIA building. And by then my older sister was born, so my mom brought her with her just as a baby. So anyway, they, you know, that was the start of them really getting back to, you know, Native stuff, really. You know, they were trying to get back involved with the culture, with politics, with just helping any way they could, and also learning. So you know, the people that would come and visit and, you know, teach different classes, even back then there were people who were starting to teach other people how to bead, and, you know, things like that. So anytime they had the opportunity, they would go and learn. So, you know, this was not something that was passed down to them because of the, you know, of that time being in the orphanage and everything. So I really have to, you know, say that one thing that I'm a true, I truly believe in promoting is those Native people who have lost their culture. And, you know, I meet people my age in their 40s who say, well, I have never danced before or beaded, so, you know, I just don't feel like I should or I can. And I'm like, it's never too late to start. You know, if my mom and her siblings wouldn't have you know, just taken the initiative to take the classes and to you know, join these groups and do these things, I would never have learned. So, you know, it's almost our responsibility to be that first generation who brings it back. And yes, I do know a lot of artists who have been doing this for generation, you know, have had this passed down. But my mom, you know, by the time she was teaching us when we were little, she had already really become a great artist, and you know, started making our regalia. And, you know, we go to powwows, and we were really poor. Like, we lived down a dirt road, no electricity, no running water, you know, outhouse. So yeah, we were really poor. But when we go to powwows, people would say, "You're rich," you know. They thought we were rich because we all had beadwork. And it was so interesting to, you know, I mean, I thought that was pretty cool, because like, we knew we were poor. But yeah, so you know, learning that way, and having that appreciation of, you know, mom and dad meeting artists. And like, I remember this couple was teaching basket making at powwows, and mom and dad invited them over. They're like, yeah, we have black ash in our woods, we have black ash trees, because that's really hard to find around here, but that's what our traditional baskets were made out of. So they invited them over, and, you know, dad went out with them and cut down the tree, and, you know, dragged it up, and, you know, we all helped pound out the ash, and, you know, how you pound it, and then it comes off in strips. So like, those types of things where, you know, our parents took the initiative to bring these people who had that knowledge to our home and go through the whole process, you know. Before, I don't know, as long as I can remember, we would be doing a lot with birch bark. You know, we have a lot of birch trees around where we live in Upper Michigan. So, I mean, I just remember having piles of of birch, and, you know, making baskets and making all these things. And geez, I haven't harvested birch bark in years because I'm just so into beading and sewing. But yeah, it's something I need to get back to because my kids haven't done that, you know. But I think it's important for me to keep teaching my kids as that, you know, next generation growing up and learning. And, you know, so ever since they were born, pretty much, like I had my daughter on my lap when I was working, and I was teaching powwow dance classes to the youth, you know, ever since they were born. So they would always come to that. So they are very naturally gifted with, you know, dance. They're both in my dance company, and they can dance all the styles. And, you know, it's, to me, it's pretty amazing. You know, I see how my mom, you know, looks at what she's done, and that all of us dance. Like, I have 2 sisters and a brother, and we all dance. We all teach our kids that, and we all do some sort of artwork. Oh, let's see what the traditional Native American sports, winter sports. Oh, okay. So I see a question. Is anyone familiar with traditional Native American sports, winter sports? Yeah, that's a great question. You know, we go snowshoeing. I actually took a snowshoe making class with my kids. Now that's a challenge. I will say, I did not feel capable when it came to making snowshoes. But that's something that we enjoy, is going snowshoeing. But no, I guess I haven't really done a lot of games myself, but there may be other people in the group who have. I know that a friend of mine, Ronnie Preston, he does the snow snake, and that's supposed to be like a fun winter game that he you know, does with the youth in the Milwaukee area. And he travels around. He came over by us and did it one time, but I was out of town. So yeah, you know, and not only art, but making maple syrup, and, you know, all these things that our people have done for so many generations, wild rice, you know, and, you know, the process of doing that. And, you know, back in the day, I remember us doing it the traditional way, where you dance on the rice to, you know, get it separated and all that. And now, when I go ricing, both of the people that I rice with have contemporary machinery that they've made with a barrel and with you know, so they can actually process more in an easier way. But there are still a lot of people who you know, go get wild rice, and they will process some traditionally for the elders, because there are a lot of elders who, you know, don't who appreciate the traditional ways, of course, and keeping it alive. So yeah, there's so many things that we can be a part of, you know, and search out in order to continue carrying on our traditions. And I will say that, like I said, you know, getting into it, even if you're first generation, very important. So you can be that one who carries it on. And also, you know, I get a lot of requests to just do like mass teachings to online. And until COVID, I never would teach online, because I felt like, you know, there's so many teachers in our communities, although I know you guys are, you know, pretty far from Native communities, but around where I live, there's so many communities within a couple hours. I would say within 2 hours, I can get to probably 10 different reservations. So, you know, there's so many teachers within that. So I think it's important that we, you know, we utilize those teachers in our communities so that they can fine tune their teaching, and we can, you know, have more teachers become teachers. Because, you know, obviously you guys being in higher education, you understand the amount of work it takes to develop a class and to, you know, have a variety of things that you can pass on. So yeah, I'm just rambling on.
No, I think you're bringing up some valuable points, just given that many times, I know when we would do certain activities with our parents or my like my mom and my auntie, when you know, we would just kind of get together, we do a lot of sewing, and this was always a valuable part of the whole bonding experience and sharing, you know, just sharing stories and then having them pass them down to us. The sunlight dried in my eyes, so I'm going to put myself back on, turn my camera off. But yeah, so I do have very fond memories of like when you were talking about them, and it is really you know, making me feel homesick, because that's things we would if we had ceremonies and we would be there, you know, preparing the corn or you know, just doing cooking or anything like that. So I think that's a good way that you're able to continue to pass down those traditions. And given that we are Native people, you know, language is very important to us, and we're able to talk about, you know, hear some of the talking. For us, we would talk in Navajo, and then my family would then start talking about telling us different stories in Navajo. So I know Elena probably has Elena studies languages, indigenous languages. I'm sure she has some other stories to add.
I actually was this time of COVID, we thought that it would be very difficult, because I'm working with people in Nicaragua, and so I couldn't travel there. But the good thing about all that is that we were also hungry to talk with each other, that we began to talk about things on WhatsApp. So now I'm almost talking more with them than before. And one of the things that they are trying to do is to recover, right? Because everybody is so much into technology now that they are not passing on the traditions. But this time of COVID has made them all be at home and kind of recovering all those things that they didn't have time to do, because they were all so busy, and they were all going to school, and the kids had homework and all that stuff. And then suddenly they have to be at home together, and they can engage in cooking together. In like I don't know where she got it, because she always grew up in the city, but one of the middle girls that must be now 15, she liked beading a lot. And so I don't know where they originally got the beads from, but she always wears this kind of color necklaces that she makes.
Nice.
So that's very nice. And in a way, the kids are the ones driving my friend and colleague to retake those things. But I was also thinking about something with my own grandmother. When she died, when she passed on, I inherited her sewing machine, the kind that goes with the pedal, you know, like and she had bought that in how do you say that in English? In steps. She didn't have the money to buy it.
On credit or on layaway, maybe?
Layaway, I think. So she was paying, I don't know, the equivalent of, no, less than that, like $5 every month or something like that. And so I found that bill, and then I opened it up. It was with a mechanical foot. And I sat in front of it, and suddenly my hands began to work the thread through it. And my leg began to move. And I knew how to operate that machine. And I was looking at myself and almost crying. How does my body remember that? I don't remember it. My body remembered that. So it was beautiful. I still have that machine.
That's awesome. Yeah, those are the things that, yeah, you can't even explain what it is, but yeah, it's there, and it will continue if we just keep passing it on, you know. Once we realize we have that, in us still. So yeah, that's awesome. What a great gift to give you. I started on a treadle machine, the one where you go like this with your foot, because we didn't have
Yes.
electricity.
Yes.
And yeah, those are great. I still have mine too. So we should start a old sewing machine club.
Yes.
That's pretty cool. So yeah, it's and that's so cool that you you know, you're revitalizing the languages. And you know, I have taken college language classes, Ojibwe language, and growing up we would go to language classes, but you know, I'm not fluent, and I know that it's going to take a lot of dedication for me to you know, to get there, and I just haven't dedicated myself yet. But what is it going to take? I don't know. I always
That's
wish they
why.
would make it, you know, that what's that one thing where they make it easy to learn, you just buy it and then they teach you really in an easy way.
I don't know. I'm using Duolingo, and they are
Okay.
really doing it well. Do you know that they have Navajo in Duolingo? I don't know if it's good or not. I don't know if the community likes it or not. But
Rosetta Stone.
Rosetta Stone, yes.
Yes, thank you so much. That's what I was thinking. But okay, so yeah, I don't speak Navajo. I will I think yeah, we should find out if that works.
So as the resident Navajo on this phone call,
I was waiting to see what you were saying.
they do have the Duolingo, and I know that we were trying it. My daughter was trying it. She's not very fluent. I excuse me. I could speak a lot of it, but you know, since I've been away from home, I really don't, I lost a lot of that language. However, my husband speaks it fluently. My dad remembers some parts. So my sister speaks it better than I do, but we're able to at least, you know, communicate with, but you know, when you hear it all the time, that's when I know what people are saying. Sometimes I just get my words mixed up, you know, how they come out. And that happened with my daughter too. You know, she was telling us that she was trying to, my older daughter, she lives out in Seattle, and she was talking and she was trying to say smoke, you know, smoke in Navajo, you say tlid, but instead it came out id. So I'm not sure if you can hear the difference, but basically instead of smoke, she's kind of said somebody farted. And she was telling us, and her dad was teasing her about that and laughing. So, I mean, just little changes like that will redirect the whole conversation. So that's why I always have what I say.
But I think that's why it's important. Like you were talking about doing things with your grandma and your mom. Even if you don't want to, if you do those things in the language, even if you don't want to learn it, you learn it. And you can always recover it later when you are older. So I think that doing those things is very, very important. It gives you something that you can then later on in life tap onto, like me and my sewing machine.
Yeah, so true. So how's that edge beading coming, you guys? Is everybody to the edge bead?
I am there.
All right.
I'm becoming adventurous and putting some color.
Nice. I was thinking about it, but then I was like, I'll have to wait till I get to this point. And then I was talking, so I kept going. So yeah, one thing I will say is when you're talking and beading or watching TV and beading, the designs become very simple. Oh, let's see, looking at the chat. Oh, all right. Yeah, we'll see you in a little bit. So yeah, it's funny, you know, you could get these centerpieces or get mirrors to bead around, and a lot of people are doing earrings, you know, making pairs of earrings with this same exact process. So you would just make 2 of these instead of 1, and you would attach your earring hook, or if you want to get fancy with some, you know, lever back hooks like I'm wearing, so they're more on your ear. You know, you can make the same exact thing for earrings, and you'll see a whole lot of people doing that. And yeah, it's pretty cool. It's all about, you know, what centerpieces you choose, and then what, you know, what your color combos and what speaks to people. I did get really into making earrings with gems and mirrors for quite a while, and I found that white was the most popular background color, white, and then adding different colors in from there, but using that white main color. So yeah, if you know, if you ever get into that. But I think I'm not sure if that was because I was mostly selling to natives at the time, and you know, with black hair, you're kind of trying to look for something that stands out usually. So white is a good you know, contrast color to black hair. But maybe if you have lighter color hair, you would want something, you know, darker to stand out. So yeah, I don't know if that would be considered market research, since I didn't get a good variety, have a good variety of customers at the time. So I would sell at powwows and stuff. Now you have access to so many people on the internet, of course. But yeah, and one thing we do talk about when, you know, when we do these, you know, do this art like this is, you know, people ask, like non-native people, and I think we have some non-natives in the group possibly. Yeah. But yeah, you know, I get asked, I'm not native, can I wear beaded earrings? Can I wear a ribbon skirt? And, you know, I think it's a hard question to ask, you know, about ribbon skirts and things like that. You know, sometimes because of there are different types of ribbon skirts, but for the most part, it's, you know, it's become to where if you are non-native and you buy and wear beaded earrings that were made for everyone, then you're supporting native art instead of, you know, you're not taking away from our art, you're supporting those artists to continue, you know, doing that artwork. And so yeah, I feel like it's really appreciated in the communities that, you know, everybody is starting to you know, gravitate toward wearing those pieces. Now skirts, you know, I feel like some people do create these pieces to be worn by everyone, and then you have things that are made just to be worn by, you know, maybe they're a custom made thing for a certain you know, tribal member. But if they're, you know, being sold publicly to all communities, then, you know, they will usually say on there if it's okay or not, and you can always ask. So yeah, I have a couple of friends that you know, they were asking if they could wear ribbon skirts, and I thought it was okay, because they have spent a lot of time learning about, you know, the culture. You know, they run an event where they bring, you know, authentic native people and you know, artwork to their community, and you know, for them to want to represent you know, their you know, that love for the culture through that is, you know, is definitely was appreciated, I felt. So yeah, but you know, obviously you don't want to put on a whole regalia and get out there and be dancing, but yeah, it's definitely appreciated to have that appreciation for the art, to want to, you know, learn about what we do. But you know, it's not something that we would want non-native people to do as a business, or you know, things like that, because this is something that we consider to be our artwork, that sort of thing. So based on, you know, our evolution of clothing and things. So yeah, that's something.
When I go to Chiapas in southern Mexico, One thing that because they have, women make these wonderful huipiles, which is the top part. And they sell it, and then you think, well, can I, because I'm not native, or even I'm not a member of their community, can I wear that? And what I discovered is that they saw a particular kind of huipiles for the outsiders. And then they wear a different kind for themselves. And of course they have different kinds. So they have the huipiles for everyday life, and then they have the huipiles for the weddings and for other ceremonies, right?
Nice.
So, but it's like you say, if you buy the stuff that they do for the outsiders, then you are supporting their work, their autonomy, because it allows them to be self-sufficient, especially the women.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, that's so important. It's part of keeping these arts alive, really. So yeah, one thing that I found, doing this for so many years is that a lot of artists are expected to do art on the side as a side thing, and not as just their dedicated life choice, I guess. And it is hard to see that, because I feel like, in order to really develop your art and be able to, pass that on, you really do need people who can dedicate, their lives and their energy to that, instead of feeling like they have to live in both worlds, where, they have to go work, maybe 9 to 5, and then come home and, try to start their second job, and I did live that way for about 8 years, and it was really tough. It was really tough. Actually, more than 8 years, now that I think about it, maybe 12 years. Growing up, going to school, but then going to powwows and vending with my mom, because she was a vendor, and we would help her, and we would make our own stuff and sell it. So we were business people ever since we were little, selling any kind of thing we could make. And yeah, and I always, my mom stayed at home with us and raised us, and worked and did beadwork, and dad went out and worked. So, seeing that was my dream of my life, was to be like my mom. And I'm so fortunate to finally have gotten to that point, because I used to love when she'd get asked to go teach classes, and I would go help her, and we'd prep everything beforehand. It's just like the build up to the class, and the excitement of, mom would draw pictures and, things to show for the classes, and she'd, prep different, how I have the different pieces prepped and ready to go. And yeah, I really loved seeing how, that was her life, and I really wanted to live that way. And now that I can, I really feel, I just really wish that for more people, because a lot of people, if you ask them what they love doing the most, a lot of them love beading or sewing or dancing, but it's just really hard to make that your full-time everyday situation, I guess. So yeah, and the good thing is I can do this, I'm here getting ready to do a show, but I can still be here talking to you. That's pretty amazing. Now, if this was an in-person class, I wouldn't be in Texas, obviously. So yeah, I am seeing the benefits of virtual. And, I had such a feeling of, if you really want to learn, you'll find a class and you'll go to it. And that was my frame of mind, for seeing how my mom and her siblings did that, and how a lot of people learned that way. They really had a need for more and more knowledge. They had that, hunger or thirst for the knowledge. And so they would do everything they could to, be around those teachers. And I feel like, if we make people understand the value of this and of carrying on those traditions instead of just, you know, sometimes when you give things so freely, it is hard for people to really value it. And yeah, so it's a fine line, but you know, if it's too hard to access, then they just won't do it either, you know? So finding a balance has been difficult. Ooh, how's everybody doing? Goodness, time is flying. It's 6:20 already. Ah!
I have to tell you that I have to leave a little bit earlier because I have a student defending a dissertation, and I have to, I cannot, it's my student, so I cannot leave him.
That's pretty important.
Yes.
That's awesome. Well, I hope it goes well. That's
I
that's
hope so
huge.
too. He's worked hard.
Yes, that must be a labor of love.
It is.
One of my friends is going through that right now, and I said, well, I'm just gonna go ahead and you know, start doing some writing. So if I eventually am gifted one of those honorary doctorates, I'll have some writing. because there's no way. Oh no. Sorry, a call was coming in.
I'm like not even halfway done yet. I'm going
Yeah,
really
it's
slowly.
well, one thing is you are doing the larger edging, so it takes more time, but it will be really cool when you get it done. How's it going so far?
I don't know. It was a little uneven.
Oh, it looks great. I love how you did the colors too. Around, you did an extra row. See, you are definitely a go-getter. I could tell that.
I was sitting one day and I was like, oh, I'm so bored. I'm so stressed out. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do another row. And I was like, I gotta make it colorful this time.
Perfect. Oh, just putting those feelings into that. That's awesome. Well, I hope you keep up with it then, because those are the things, you know, when you need something like that and it's just sitting there, you can pick it up and do it. And such a feeling of satisfaction to you know, finish those steps. So, you know, the good thing is I will be available. I gave you my card. So if you have questions or anything, you know, it's not like once this class is over, you can't ask me questions. I have no problem with even doing like a messenger meeting just to show you something or making you a little video. So yeah, I never want anybody to walk away not feeling like they can complete their piece, because yeah, it's important. I meet so many students that have a closet full of of things that they've taken classes for and never finished, and that's frustrating. I should probably do a class where they can bring all their unfinished projects from other you know, instructors, and then try to figure out how to finish them, because yeah, that would be upsetting when you dedicate so much time. I mean, you guys have already put almost 4 hours into this, so it's like you've got to finish it.
I was in an art class, a ceramics kind of class in high school, and I was working on my favorite project yet, and then I got sick for a week and I missed all of the stuff and I couldn't finish it, and then I graduated, so it just got thrown in the trash, and I was really upset about that.
Oh man.
So
well, you'll have to take another class like that one of these days.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so you understand that's not a good feeling, and I try so hard to, you know, get people to want to finish, and sometimes it's not possible during a class, especially when you're doing, you know, the bigger edging and things, but because you are so motivated, obviously, I feel like you are gonna make it happen. You know, once you finish edge beading, all we're doing is I'll just show you this, is making a loop and putting on the elk tooth. So you put on the beads and then you slide the elk tooth on, and then you go through, and then you just go through them again, make another loop through them just to make it nice and strong. And then you do the same on the top without the elk tooth, of course. It's just 3 loops of beads. I use 20 beads here. So 20 beads, make a loop, 20 more, make a loop, 20 more. And the process of doing 3 loops is what's going to make it nice and strong to hold this on. And that way you don't have to keep going through one loop to strengthen it. You have 3 separate ones you can just go through one time each. So yeah, it definitely, it's not hard. You're doing the hard part right now. So yeah, this is a loop with the elk tooth and then 3 more. And then I just put this tie through and tied a little knot at the top. And of course this is adjustable, so you can untie it and make it fit how you like. Some people like them as chokers, and then other people like them longer. So yeah, you're doing the hard part right now. Once you get that down, you have smooth sailing.
Yeah, I definitely have faith I'll be able to finish this.
Very good.
For sure.
Yeah, another thing, people, keep the card, because if you decide you want to get more, because you have enough beads to do at least, a couple more probably. You'll notice you probably still have a lot of thread left too. So that's a great kit right there, because then you can continue on. You'll just need to get some more material. I mean, some people just have, some stiff material lying around, or you can get some at Walmart. Just something stiff. Some people, if they don't have anything, they'll just stack up some coffee filters and bead on that. Growing up, we were, like I said, really poor. So we just did what we could. And there's no set way to do things, but, it does make it easier to have these, have the stiff material and all that. But yeah, you got the needle and thread, you got the beads, so lots of options. And this one girl, I was teaching her, I was actually down here in Texas. We were doing a 1-month run of a show. And during the day, we didn't have anything going on because the shows were at night. So she had this Western store, but she was Native American. So, but she had never learned to bead or anything. So she's like, oh, I'd love to learn to bead. I was like, okay, I'll teach you. So I started stopping into her shop with beads and, showing her some stuff. And next thing you know, I come in one day and she has made an earring just with needle and thread and beads. And she's like, yeah, I just YouTubed it and went along with the video. So there are a lot of resources now that you have the tools, So that was kind of neat. Just got to have that drive and patience, of course. I can't say I've ever gone and learned any kind of art on YouTube, but seeing her do that made me know that it is possible to learn that way. Well, I will say we have quite a smaller class this week. I think.
Well, if it's any consolation, our classes are dwindling and dwindling. We are finishing in 2 weeks, and it's like desert camp.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, hopefully they'll watch the playback and, at least get the highlights of it so they can continue on with that piece. Yeah, it's hard to find a beading project that you can do in a shorter period of time. This is one of my quickest beading projects because, there's not a lot to do, but it still takes that time. So yeah. Beading takes time.
And that's a lesson, right? Right there.
It really is. And of course, in this day and age, it's hard to put that time in. I know that. But if nothing else, it gives you a really good appreciation of beadwork when you see it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna I have probably 4 more rows of edge bead, and then I am gonna go ahead and finish this up on the camera just so you guys can see it, and then or watch it back. So I just have a little bit left. Just see that white area there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's only 6:31, so we're doing good. What time do you have to leave?
I probably in like 15 minutes.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I should have this done by then, so I'll be able to show you that. So will this defense be on Zoom then, since COVID?
Yeah, and because the student is in Taiwan.
Oh my.
So yes.
That's so amazing. So is this a Purdue University student?
Yeah. And
Wow.
because we are 12 hours apart, it's doing it either early in the morning or late at night.
I see.
So I let the rest of the committee decide, since they were making the effort.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's very cool. Well, I hope it goes well. It's a big big deal.
Yes.
Very much respect for you know, you educators and people who, you know, follow through with their education like that. That's awesome. Taking it to the next level.
Mm. But it's almost like you learn those skills from things like beading, right? Patience, dedication, constance. Keep at it, even if it's hard.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
And
I like to think of it that way. That's great.
And what you were saying before about not having a shorter project or a faster project, this also, not everything is life is fast food, right? So
Right.
there are things where you have to like put your time, and little by little you accomplish it.
Yeah, and it's all that more valuable when you're done too.
Mm-hmm. I'm seeing why it's good to have a good rounded piece, because if it's irregular, then your 6 beads do not fall in the same.
Yeah, try to pull it nice and snug. That can help, you know, smooth out any irregularities with the cut. But yeah, it is it definitely creates a challenge there. But those things will come with practice too. I mean, the one thing I love about something like this is once you're finished, it can look like such a professional piece. Like nobody would know that you never beaded before, or maybe you have, I don't know. But every time I see a student who's never beaded and they make one of these, I'm just amazed. Oh, are the children here?
Yeah, they've been here today. The last one says thank you.
Hi, bonjour. Okay, so I'll show you this, guys. I was just beading away and talking and forgot I was teaching a class. Okay, so I put on the beads. I put on a string of beads. Now you can decide how many beads by putting some on and then holding them and looking at how your elk tooth hangs. So the elk tooth easily slides onto the beads. So you can, take off or add if you need to, but I'll tell you how many beads I put on. Let's see, 4, 10, 13. I put 30 beads on for this loop. Okay. So 30 beads is going to hang like this.
And
So
where do you thread it through which row?
Well, where I came out is I came out
Okay.
above my edge stitch. So it's actually right here.
Okay.
Right above the edge stitch. So now to create that circle like we have, it's going to be just another loop. So I'm actually going to go down on the inside line of the rhinestones. So closer
Okay.
to the centerpiece on
Right.
this side of the rhinestones to create that loop. Now, as long as it's uniform to where you went through in the back, it should hang right. It, as long as it's fairly close to the same area, it should hang in a nice loop like that.
Nice.
So yeah, now I'm just going to go through this again. My thread's coming out here. Go through that loop again because, we may get a little wear and tear on this elk tooth. We want to make sure it doesn't get ripped off. We have beads everywhere. I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I run out of thread and I'm like, I'm not gonna go through that again. And those times I have made that poor decision, I've paid the price. So yeah, when I was younger, preteen and that, I would take shortcuts like that because I wanted to get it done fast. And it definitely is not recommended. Yes. Just one moment. I think I have a visitor. Hello? Do you need anything? Could I get one more water, please? Yep, one is great. Thank you so much. No, no, thank you, though. Thank you. You too. Oh, water delivery service. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, so now I'm just following through and making this nice and strong.
So you thread it through the back of the first thread then? When you did the second one, when I'm going through the second one, so I went through and then I just started going back through the beads again, just making another loop through. Basically, I'm just going around in a circle through the beads one more time to tighten them up. Does that make sense? Through the beads on the round part, right? Right. This circle that I'm making, or this loop. Yeah, I'm basically just going through it, attaching it. Now I'm going to go through it one more time and make it nice and strong. You might be able to go 3 times, but 2 should be sufficient. If you try 3, you might have a problem getting through the beads, and that could cause your beads to break. So you guys, these are glass beads. So, you never want to get to the point where you're breaking them, because then you'll have to take it off and redo it. So, but yeah, 2 times is very good.
So I'm going to show you once I get through these last few beads, I'm going to push it through to the back. Okay, so there's trying to make sure something's behind it so you can see the needle. So yeah, I'm just pushing it through again. So I've made, put them on, sewed it through the piece. Now I went around again. So it's nice and strong. So the only difference with putting on the top, instead of putting them on and then going through them again, I'm only going to put them on and then I'm going to start another loop. So I'm making 3 separate loops. And because I'm making 3, I'm not going through them twice. I'm only going to just go, put the beads on, go through, put another loop on, go through, put another loop on.
Your middle loop looks longer than the others.
I think because of the placement, it looks like there's more beads, but it's the same amount of beads. I just did the same each time, but because of how I sewed it on, it did end up looking longer. So yeah, see, they're kind of pushing on each other, but it hangs well when you put it on, as long as it hangs well.
Right.
Whoa, just kidding. So yeah, that's a good observation. And I noticed one thing when I'm developing these, these pieces like this, I try to keep it simple, but also make it strong. And it doesn't have to be perfect like we talk about. That's one good thing about these loops. It's just an easy way to loop on your leather. Some people like to sew the leather right to the piece, but I find it's nice to have a separate piece of leather. So if it gets wet and it gets kind of, dried out or anything, you can just add a new piece of leather to it and it's just like new. So yeah, just little tricks.
I'm gonna show you what I did and I'm gonna leave.
All right.
Let's see if I can recover my there.
Oh, hi. Ooh, I love that. I can. That's beautiful. You added the red and the gold in there. Very nice. Does that not look professional? That's
it doesn't to my eye, but I enjoy doing it.
It looks great. You should be really proud of that.
I'll send you a picture when I finish it.
Very nice. All right. Well, thank you. And so that's what the loop looks like before you go. And I did 30 once again, but it's 30. Up to you. That doesn't look like it's in the middle now that I'm looking at it. Okay, I might have to cut that off and redo it, but I'm going to do the top loops first. So if you get a chance to come back, if you have a question about the top loops, but I think you have the grasp of the basic idea. So
yeah. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's good meeting you.
Bye-bye. Bye, Felica, and everybody. Deb, everybody.
Bye-bye.
All right, we're getting there. Getting very close. Okay, well, I thought it was off center, but it looks pretty good. So you will notice that the tooth is slanted if you had a chance to look at your elk tooth. So because this is modeled after a real elk tooth, it is at an angle as they are. So yeah, it does hang a little funny, but it's cool to represent those teeth there. And of course, then we use the deer hide as well. So yeah, some natural mixed with the contemporary. So now I'm going to start my top loops. So once again, I want to look for the center just like I did before, and it's all eyeballed. Some people do love a ruler, and rulers can really help you perfect your work. So that's an option too. Never think you can't just get out a ruler and check it. But I'm going from the back to the front, and I'm going to come up on the outside of the rhinestones for this one, I think. I did that on my sample piece over here too. Instead of going, on the inside like I did with the elk tooth, I'm going on the outside. So you can hopefully see that where the needle is at. I'll pull it through. And then I'm going to put on my 20 beads to make my first loop. And remember, if you want to do colored, like different color patterns or anything in there, I think I will do that for this piece. As you can see on the bottom, I did black, gold, and then I did the fire colors. And I just thought that really set the elk tooth off. So I think I'll do that on the top too, something different. Give it a little life over here. 3, 4, 5. So I'm trying for 20. So one thing that was not included in your kit, but I don't know if we talked about this last week. I like to put my beads into a container lid, like a baby food jar lid or any kind of cap. And, you know, that way when you're picking up your beads, you can just angle it a little bit and they'll fall onto the needle. I meant to mention that to you because yeah, that does speed up your beading. When you're first starting, you know, it's fine to even like pour them onto like a piece of cloth or something like that. But as you build your speed, you'll want to get yourself some kind of lid, especially if you want to keep your beads in a jar. I know I sent them in those plastic containers, which are really great for travel. I actually was gifted those from a fellow beader. She's like, anybody have any classes coming up? These are perfect. And she's demonstrating them. She said, look, you can drop them on the floor and they won't open. So I was like, sure, I'll take some. So yeah, it was really, really excited to have those for this class. I sent her a video of me prepping the class and mixing the beads. So normally beads will come all sorted into your different colors. You can get them in tubes by the color, or you can get them in what's called hanks, which is they're on strings. So what I did is I bought them by the hanks, which is I have a hank of beads right here. So they're all on strings tied together. So then I actually put them in this bowl and I cut the hanks open and dropped all the beads into this big container and mixed them all up. And yeah, it was fun. And yeah, the bead soup for Purdue University was born. And you know, just for those of you who are going to continue with beading, remember we use size 10 beads, and you know, size 10s are a great starter bead. There's 10 beads per inch. That's how they you know, call beads, is by their how many beads per inch normally. So that's kind of a good thing to remember, because if you buy more beads, it is nice to stick with the same size. So you have a bunch of colors in size 10 already. Maybe you just buy a hank of, you know, blues or greens or something that you don't have to supplement all those colors. So now that I have my 20 beads on my thread, I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to stick it in through the back and bringing it around to the front. So I'm going to pull it through, and we're just completing that circle once again, making that loop. So you see it makes a nice loop on the top, and there's plenty of room, as you can see, to stick that leather tie through there. That's 20 beads right there. So now I'm just going to put 20 more on and make another loop. So I'm going for 3 loops just like this. So I've got 2 more to go. And try to use the same count as you did before. You want to get 20 beads on each time. If you lose count and only do 19, obviously it'll be a little lopsided. I've done that before. It's not the end of the world, but yeah, if you can do the same count each time, it will definitely make for a nicer finish. All right, I need to plug this phone in. So I believe Indiana University was coming up soon. I think we might have mentioned that. We might have talked about that last time, their powwow over there.
I think that would be Nikki Bell. You probably have worked with him before, but they were, from my understanding, they were moving their powwow to a social or a virtual powwow.
Yes, yeah, that was so awesome. I remember last year, everything was planned and they, we kind of thought they were going to go ahead with it, even with COVID. But yeah, of course, then everything started shutting down. And so this year, yeah, they went to the virtual platform and it was really neat. Hi.
It's my niece, Margaret. She just came
Aw.
from stuff. Bye. But yeah, Nikki and I, we do a lot of collaborations with different programming. So that's actually how I think I got introduced to you, through Nikki, and then and working with you to with the program that we were trying to do last. It was last year. It was during Heritage Month, but it was understandable with all the challenges with COVID, because I think we didn't really know what to expect. So now I think we're better prepared for next year.
Yeah, that was such a crazy time. I feel like for me, it was, hard professionally to have put that year in and then lost it. And yeah, I do apologize for that, because I know that I would think I was scared to put the time into scheduling things that kept getting canceled. I was like, I've never been scared really to do things like that until this came along. So, but yeah,
that's understandable. I think everybody was just hesitant on, what to do, and the thought of trying to conduct programming while in a pandemic, that was really, that was very stressful for all of us too.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I do appreciate you giving me this opportunity, because this has been really cool. And I don't know, I never ever thought I would do something like this. And I don't know, I'm like, Purdue University. Wow. I mean, that's big time. So thank you very much for, allowing me to do this with you guys. But yeah, so virtual, I'm interested to see how they put their virtual powwow together. I was really excited to see they actually contracted the drum groups to record songs for the dancers, because most things that I've been involved with, we just pick a song and we dance to it, or they have a song on YouTube that they want us to do. So for this one, yeah, he had them and they did it specifically for it. It's really neat. I was like, wow, that's like above and beyond. And, having worked with social distance powwow now for quite a while, I see what goes into some of this stuff. It's pretty, pretty amazing.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't know if he is, I haven't checked with him recently. We're working on another joint program coming up in May, so I'll get more details later.
Yeah, gosh, I wish I knew the date, because I do want to make sure and check it out. Because yeah, when I did go to their in-person powwow, I was very impressed, because it's so far removed from all the reservations and stuff. You have to wonder, how do you get people, to go there? I mean, just the thought of it was like, oh, I don't know. But it was such a cool opportunity, and my mom was able to go. So yeah, I was happy to, go and be head dancer there and meet so many cool people. And yeah, I was really impressed with it. It was small, but the quality of the dancers and the singers and, the way they ran it was really impressive. So yeah, that Nikki's got it going on, and his artwork, my goodness. I'm like, how did you do that? Yeah, he comes up with some really innovative ideas, I have to say. He impresses me.
Yeah, I missed the drawing for that necklace that he was making. I saw that, but I just didn't have time to. I missed it.
Oh yeah, I saw. I didn't win, but I can't remember who won. But yeah, that was really cool. I love buying. I won a raffle last night. I never win raffles, and they're like, "Oh, you won one of the prizes." I was like, "Oh, I'll just donate it back." And then I looked at the thing. They're like, "She won $500 and she donated it back."
Oh no!
Damn, I'm generous. Oops, excuse my language. I'm sorry. Oh, darn.
Darn,
Sorry.
wow, that's good.
It was. I was like, wow, I feel really good. But I also feel really silly. I could have said like, keep 100.
Did you know it was money that you were donating back?
I did. I said I would like you to keep it for the, put it to the cause because it was for a young man in need. So of course
okay.
I was just like, keep it. But then I was like, whoa, that's a lot of money. But of course it's all the better for the family. But it was just that moment of like, whoa. Too funny. Yeah.
So I'll make a note here. If I have a raffle, I'll make sure to send an invitation to Michelle.
Yes, please do. If it's for a good cause, I think that's the best way to give back right now because, we can't have giveaways. And I was doing a lot of giveaways on the social distance powwow, but I started getting those scam pages, cloning my page. So I had to stop doing that because they were taking advantage of people. So yeah, so I was like, how else can I give back? Buying raffle tickets. So yeah, be getting tagged all the time. But yeah, I did a raffle when my sister had COVID. She was in the hospital and it wasn't looking good for her. And so I did do a raffle for her and it was so well received. And it was just so amazing how supportive people are. So yeah, that made me see, but what a good feeling it is not to worry about, her worrying about paying her bills and things like that.
Yeah.
So this is a promotional ad for raffles. But yeah, it's so cool. Our communities, they care so much about, people and helping and, yeah, you take the good with the bad, but that's a huge upside right now. Okay. So guys, I put on another 20 and I tried really hard to keep the same count. Looks like I put on one too many orange. So I'm looking at it and making sure too, because sometimes when you're talking and beading, you don't really pay as good of attention as you should. So I'm just going to slide off those 2 extra beads I put on because that would make it quite a bit longer. Okay, so you can see my threads coming out the front of the piece. And now once again, I'm just going to go through the back of the piece and push it through. I don't want to push it through the rhinestone. Okay, so there you go. I'm pushing it through. So placement wise, I have the first one I did it in the center. The second one I did to one side. Now this other one I'm doing to the other side. That way, because you found your center when you did that first one, you want to find the center and then do one on either side. So one thing you can think of, a lot of tribes, a lot of communities have, those significant numbers like the number 4 for 4 directions. And there are teachings of 7 directions, but for this, I'm talking about the 4 directions and for our 4 medicines and for, your basics like cedar, sweetgrass, sage, and tobacco. So we have 3 loops on top and then we have this 4th on the bottom. So, it is nice to, when you're beading and especially with your kids, to have those things that you can talk about, and incorporate into your piece. So yeah, just little things like that. So we have 4 loops incorporated into this piece. So now you can see that my thread is in the front. And of course, I don't want to make a knot in the front. That would just be messy. So I'm just going to go down. I kind of moved over a little from where my thread is coming out and I'll go down to the back of the piece, pulling it through. And then I'll make that knot in the back of the piece to hide it. Okay. And it's going to be really close to the edge bead. So hopefully you won't see a big messy knot. That's, you want to have nice, clean work. I know when growing up, mom teaching me and sitting right next to me, and, I always wanted to show it to her and have her say, good job. And if I had knots sticking out anywhere, she would point those out. And I will say she was hard on us as far as, and she still is, as far as that. It's like, can't you just say good job? But then it made you really strive to, you know, do those things and, you know, get better at it. So, oh, it's not quite. Okay, it's not perfect. I used too many yellow, but that's okay. So there we go. We have 3 loops. I tied it in the back. I knotted it just like we have been. So now I'm just going to cut that off. And remember, if you have a lighter or kids, you know, have your parents do it. This thread is waxed thread, and it, when you take a lighter to it, it'll actually melt it down to where it's not like, you know, sticking out anymore. So, but you have to leave a little bit of thread after the knot in order to make sure that knot doesn't slip out. Okay. So now I have 3 loops. All I need to do now is take my piece of deer hide. So remember, I already cut your deer hide, but you know, in the future, if you make these, you can get you some deer hide. Something I used to use when I didn't have any money was I'd go to Goodwill and try to find like a leather skirt or something, and, you know, use that. So there are ways to get hide without having to spend a lot of money. And then you can do things like this. So yeah, I'm just gonna put the ends together just like we did with the needle and thread, and then I'm just gonna tie it around. You can put it in a bow or a knot. And like I said, this way, if if it gets wet and dried out, you can always exchange it for a new one, or you can use like a chain. Some people love wearing chains, so this can be easily worn like that too. You don't have to use the leather, but it is nice to have that natural piece. So yeah, yay. All right. So yeah, I want to make sure and show the completed piece for those of you who are going to watch this later. And again, it's a very simple piece, but it's so satisfying. You know, we've done you know, quite a few different steps in order to accomplish this, from, you know, doing that flat beadwork with the single needle, to sewing down rhinestones, to cutting out and backing the piece, edge beading, sewing on this replica elk tooth, and also then making our loops for the top. So yeah, a lot of processes involved to get to this point, but those again will help you make earrings, and of course, you know, graduate eventually, hopefully, to some larger pieces like moccasins. So yeah, I again just finished these up this week, and yeah, there's so much you can do with beading. That one simple stitch, you could make a whole regalia from that. So just know this is a building block to a lot more to come. So just keep on practicing, and yeah, you're gonna be making all kinds of stuff, I hope.
Yes, that's a beautiful piece. It came out really nice, and I do have the other one that you had sent us here.
Oh.
So that's wonderful. I don't know who else we have on here, how close people are to finishing up, but let me see. I think we had a couple people already leave. However, yeah, this has been exciting, and I think this is a start for some additional workshops in the future. I think now that we know that this can be accomplished through Zoom, at least a workshop like this, I think it'll be wonderful. But, you know, obviously we would love to have you in person doing something like this, but I think that we can have some discussions maybe for next fall as to what we're doing. I recently wrote a grant, and I'm hoping to hear back, but it's really focused on mentoring Native women. So maybe we can have another conversation about that, how we want to engage with different activities, something like this, that we can bring them together.
That'd be amazing. Thank you so much for the opportunity again. I really appreciate it.
So I think we are winding down, and I know we have a couple of people on here. If you wouldn't mind, I just want to check to make sure we don't have any last questions from any of our participants regarding any of the final product that you have coming up. So if you do have any couple of questions, I'll give you the opportunity to unmute yourself and pose those questions to Michelle, or if you just want to express your gratitude, because we're going to get ready to wind up here. She has to go do some dancing here, so we got to get out of here.
So for the bottom loop, do you go from the front in like to the back? And you're
Wherever you end up, you'll probably end up in the front because you're looping from the back to the front right now. So you'll be in the front. You'll probably want to go down to the back because that's how you're going to get to the very center. So you'll come up with your last stitch of edge beading, and then you will go back down in a place that's very, very close to the center. So that way, when you come to the back, you can make that loop. It's just a way to get to the back, basically, and to the very center. Because as you're beading right now, edge beading right now, you'll come up on the outside of the rhinestone, but you want to end up on the inside of the rhinestone before you start your loop, just so you have a little bit more.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay. But if if you end up out here, it's not the end of the world. I'm just saying that's the ideal for this specific one, but either way, it'll turn out great. Okay. So yeah, the little details, those can be modified, just like with the size of your edging. You do have a bigger edging. So keep that in mind and take that into consideration with your loops. So guys, if you do have a larger edging, I think we're using 8 beads, I think it was.
I started to use 10
beads. So yeah, you'll need more than 20 beads to make that loop, or else your elk tooth will be too close to the piece and it won't have any movement. So yeah, those little things will be part of your design. So
thank you so much.
awesome. Yeah, thank you. If you guys get a chance to post it on your Instagram and tag me so I can share it on my story, I'd love to do that. So yeah, please do. All right. Well, I will say see you next time. Bamapi. Everybody. Oh, hi.
There are 3 of us here. We're all chatting and beading. Thank you.
Nice.
Yes,
thank you so much.
So let me, if I could get a picture, let's see, before we leave it, so we can just kind of say hello, or everybody wave who's on the call right now. And therefore we can, you got it? Okay, ready? Smile, 3, 2, 1. Oh, excellent. Okay, so we'll make sure to post those. But thanks again, Michelle. I'll be in touch with you and connect with you about some other projects. But if there's anything you need, you know how to reach us. So, and thank you everybody for joining us here. With that, we'll go ahead and officially close our beading session.
All right, Miigwech.
And there.